What is up guys, it's Jack again here with another video, and today I want to talk to you about how you can start flipping houses with the least amount of money possible. Now a lot of people talk about no money down deals and things like lease option agreements and using investors so that you're not using any of your own money to get a property, but that's not the kind of video I want to talk about today. I'm not going to talk about those kind of creative strategies. I just want to talk about you as an individual. If you want to buy a house to do up and to sell, what's the cheapest way to do that? Okay, so there's a number of different ways to finance a deal, and I spoke about this in a previous video. I'll link it just in the iCard in the corner of the screen. 3 different ways to finance a deal. One is cash, one is with a bridging loan, and one is with investor finance. Now I'm not going to talk about any of these, but I am going to talk to you about using a mortgage. Okay, so if you wanted to buy a house to do up and to sell, but you are really limited with cash, then the best way to do it is to buy your own house. If you don't already own a house, if you're renting, if you live at home with your parents or whatever it is, if you don't currently own your own residential property, then I would recommend doing that first, to buy it, do it up, and then to sell it. Now the reason why is because you can put down typically a 10% deposit. At the moment, at the time of recording this video, you can actually put down a 5% deposit onto a residential mortgage. And there's a couple of reasons why that's helpful. One, you put down very minimal money, and number 2, the borrowing costs are way lower than bridging finance or even working with investors, because you'd have high interest rates. So you'd have much lower interest rates if you use a residential mortgage. So say for example, at the moment, if you wanted to buy a house for £150,000, okay, you could buy it for £7,500, especially because there's no stamp duty at the moment. You've got a stamp duty holiday till the end of March 2021. You could buy that for £7,500 plus legal costs and things like that. So you can actually buy a house for less than £10,000. Okay, now you can actually save £10,000. It might take a bit of graft, it might take a bit of time, but everybody can save £10,000. That's something that everybody should be able to do over a certain amount of time. So if you're really desperate and you want to get started in property and you want to buy your own house, buy it on a residential mortgage. Okay, I've got some friends actually, they bought a house about 3 years ago now, and they bought it in the Birmingham area, and they bought it I think for I can't remember how much they bought it for, but they bought it, it was fairly run down, so they got a decent discount on the property, and then they've spent the last 3 years doing the house up. Okay, and now what it's worth, they've made £100,000 on that one property. So now if they sold it and went to buy another one, they get their deposit back, they get the money that they've put into doing the house up, and they would also get £100,000, which isn't too bad considering that wasn't necessarily their initial goal, to make as much money as possible. They just wanted to buy a home for them to live in. And the point I want to make there is that you could actually start by buying a house, put down the deposit, and it's not even like you need the refurb costs or anything like that straight away. If you are really stuck for money, what I'd do is focus on getting your deposit and buying a house, moving into it, and as long as it's habitable, you can live there whilst you're doing it up. And what you could do is you could save and put aside money every single month, just put a little bit aside and spend that on refurbing the house, doing the house up. Okay, so you don't actually need the whole deposit and the whole refurb costs and all of that all at one go to get it done in a quick 8-week window to sell it on. You could buy a house and over the next year, 2 years, spend some money doing it up and then selling it on. So the people who I know who made £100,000, you know, if they were going to save money after 3 years, I don't think it's very hard to save £100,000 just saving money and putting it aside. So if you're there and you're thinking, I've not got that much money and I don't know how to get started in property, I'm not really sure what to do, start by buying your own house. Because if you just wait and you save and you save and you save and you wait to try and get the right amount of money, you'll just never get started. So the best way to get going, the best way to spend as little money as possible getting started to flip houses, is to buy a property with a residential mortgage and then obviously living there, doing it up, and then selling it later on and moving house. You also get to save on capital gains tax because it's your place of residence. Usually you would pay a hefty fee for your capital gains tax. You won't need to pay that because it will be your place of residence, so you save on your capital gains, which is really, really cool. So a lot of people talk about, you know, buying cash, using bridging loans and all this stuff, and actually it's just almost overcomplicating it. If you want to get started, and if you're willing to move into a house that is your house that you live in and that you do up, then that is probably, in my opinion, the best way to do it on a very limited budget and to do it over a certain period of time. So I hope this video has been helpful for you. If it has, make sure that you click the subscribe button, comment any questions that you've got below, and make sure that you hit the like button as well. And I'll see you in another video.